Hello, Steve White, Steve White 9. Well, I've been enjoying a Master Universe marathon. Over Christmas holidays, I just was like, I'm not using the post, I'm not buying anything. So I didn't buy anything all for November and December into January. And then I sort of went crazy and bought like 8 Master Universe Origins figures. And then they all arrived and it just put me in a Master Universe mood. And I just ended up marathoning the whole original series, the whole She-Ra, and finally watching the whole of the 2002 series because I'd seen a few episodes like in the morning and I had some video back in the day and I'd bought it but I hadn't time to watch it. I didn't rewatch the New Adventures of He-Man because I've already seen it once. I never need to see that again. But finally we got to the movie, Master Universe, the motion picture. Now, I actually love this movie, and I'm tired of people trashing it. I watched a couple of reviews, because I was also watching a lot of documentaries and special features and history of Master Universe and stuff like that while I was going in between the series and all that. And I watched a couple of reviews of the Master Universe, and all they did was trash it. And I'm like, it's so easy to just trash a show. It's so easy to trash a movie. It's just these critics who think they're so clever. It's all about them and how nasty they can be. I really love the film. There's really only two issues with the film prior to 2014, if you know what I'm talking about. One issue a lot of people have is they don't spend much time on Eternia. And I don't care because what is Eternia really? Aside from a couple of really good establishing shots like Castle Grayskull, Snake Mountain, it's basically either desert or forest. And are we really losing that much by not having the characters run around desert or forest fighting? I actually like the Earth setting in places we recognise, malls, schools, cemeteries, just suburbia, and I think that works really well. I really think they did a good job of that. I have no issue with it. The only real issue was that they didn't feature a lot of the characters because of cost and makeup. And also Mattel really liked the idea of them creating new characters that they could create new toys of, although they could have just created toys of the movie versions of the characters we already had because they would have been different. So we only really got 4 goodies. We got He-Man, of course, Man-at-Arms and Teela, the main sort of characters, and the Sorceress, and that's all we really got. We would have got Orko, but effects-wise he would have been too difficult and too costly, so they replaced him with Gwildor, which is fine. Billy Bartley's pretty good. And I understand I wouldn't want some badly animated Orko puppet floating around on strings and looking awful anyway. I think they made the right choice there. And I love Orko, but it's Orko. I can just survive that Orko. And on the baddies side, of course, we had Skeletor, Evil Lyn, and the Beast Man. And that's it. That's the only problem, really, that they could have, because they created, I like Sarad. I think he's a great character. Blade, he's kind of not that interesting, but he kind of feels like a He-Man character. The other guy, I've forgotten his name already. I hate him, Karg. I hate Karg. He looks awful. He's annoying. The fact they spent budget on his makeup and screen time on that character when they could have had Trapjaw or Triclops or anyone else is the only problem with the film that I have. Everything else about the film really works. Now, there's a few simple story moments that are like, okay, they had to get to the next plot, obviously, plot point. There's a couple of moments, that are a little bit, or when you think about them, they do make sense, but they didn't really set them up well. Like when Courtney Cox's character goes out into the alley in the middle of a fight between her boyfriend and the cop and the gun, she just walks off into the... Obviously, she's being, magicked by Evil Lyn. She's put a spell on her and she's just oblivious to everything else. And it's not just she just wants it to be her mum that bad that she's just ignoring the life or death battle with a gun right next to her, So a lot of people criticize little things like that. And a lot of it is just they're not set up well. It's not that they don't make sense. If you actually think about them and sort of look at it, it works. There's one other moment on the roof where He-Man is riding the sled and he ends up on the roof and Courtney Cox's character, I've forgotten her name, yells out, it's a trap. I'm like, what's a trap? They're waiting for him. He showed up. He saw them when he came over the roof of the building. I'm like, is there something missing that they were setting up that she was responding to? Her character had the line, and they should have just cut the line out. I don't know. But aside from that, I enjoy it. Now, Gary Goddard did a decent job of directing it. It wasn't an easy job. He didn't have a second unit. He didn't have a lot of money. It was a $70 million film, which wasn't the norm at the time, but still not a big budget, but needed a bit more money. And I think they end up having to do reshoots and end up costing the money they asked for in the first place. It cost more like 20 million, which is what they were asking for initially. I think they were asking for 22 million or something, and they got 17. And there were a lot. Oh my God, the backstage drama with this movie, with the funding, with between Mattel and the rights, and who wanted what. It's so much more complicated than ever I sort of realised. I'd like to do a proper video on that because there's about 5 different videos and some articles, and it's all very interesting. I'd like to lay it all out for people to see because it's all sort of all over different sort of things by other people. It's written by David Odell, and we had some actors that we didn't really know. I mean, we all knew Dolph Lundgren from Rocky IV, of course, and he does an okay job. His accent's not that bad. A lot of people get on him. I met him a little while ago, and I didn't know how he felt about the film. I know back in the day he wasn't really proud of it, but I saw him and I just said, look, I don't know how you feel about Master Universe, but I love that film. I love you in it. You're sort of my live action He-Man, and it's just really nice to meet you. Sort of, I just talked to him for a minute. He was fine. He was nice. He looked exactly the same. He hasn't changed, or he hadn't then. It was a few years ago. Frank Langella as Skeletor is just epic. I mean, he's brilliant. I mean, the makeup was pretty good. I always felt they should have had a bit of shadow in his eyes, so from a distance he had that Skeletor look, but up close you could see they weren't trying to make it look like actual, empty skull holes. He actually had eyes, but they should have shaded in around the eyes a little bit, because the nose is really predominantly black, and his mouth, of course, you can see the teeth and everything, but just the eyes, they look a little too beady without any sort of shadow, but that's the only real complaint there. Courtney Cox, of course, her first film, that was great. Robert Duncan McNeil, he was good. I met him. He's nice. I almost. He was coming into a toilet right before he went on stage, and I was coming out, and I was rushing, and I hit the door, flung it open, and just missed his face as he was coming in. So that could have been a disaster because I could have broken his nose right before he was about to go on stage, but I didn't. He's nice in person. Meg Foster, I've never met Meg Foster. But she was in a show with a guy that I know from Australia, an Australian actor who's friends with a friend of mine. He's really nice. He was in the spin-off of, was it? I know it was called Riverdale, but I forgot. No, Riverdale is, I'm getting confused. Ravenswood, was it? Either way, he worked with her. She was amazing. She still has those eyes. She has just this air about her. She's an amazing actress. I wish she'd done more. She was already 39 when she did that film, actually. She'd done quite a few films in the 70s and the 80s. But she's great. Christina Pickens is like Pickles, she's cool. The Sorceress was elegant and grand, but, she didn't really look like the Sorceress. The design was beautiful. They weren't really trying to recreate the cartoon. I think that's one of the big disappointments. If you want it to be the cartoon, you're going to be disappointed. If you want it to be the film version of the cartoon, you're going to be disappointed. If you just accept it for what it is, it's actually quite enjoyable. And I saw it on TV first, and I'd already seen the movie magazine, so I knew a lot of pictures. So I knew what that looked like. I wasn't expecting the cartoon, and I enjoyed it on TV. Saw it on video a long time later because they didn't have it at my local store, so it wasn't until I came to Melbourne that I saw it on video. And then I got it on DVD, and then I got it on Blu-ray. I don't think I actually watched it on Blu-ray. I watched it on last night on Blu-ray, I think for the first time. And it was just amazing, the detail that you could see. Unfortunately, some of the detail in the makeup and stuff like that, but, you just got to let that stuff go. And it was really great. I managed to see it on screen. I think it was on at the ASA for the 30th anniversary, and I think it was on Halloween, which really caused me a problem because it's like, how am I going to do all my Halloween movies if I'm going out on Halloween night to watch, Masters of the Universe? But I had to see it, and it was great on screen. And, I mean, they had a lot of devices. They had vehicles. They had Skeletor's barge. They had a huge Castle Grayskull set. I don't like the design of Castle Grayskull. It is too fragmented in all these little pieces. It looks too much like the Dark Crystal Castle. They should have gone for a more solid structural look to it. But we only get one matte shot of it anyway, so it doesn't really matter, or two actually. But, I mean, they went for a big screen look. They were trying too hard to be Star Wars and Superman, and the people who were doing it were just pulling in elements from other things that were hits, and Gary Goddard was pushing back against a lot of that sort of mentality, and he had a lot of trouble. They cut like the last scene of the film, basically. They said you have to stop filming now. Why he left the big fight scene to be the last thing to be filmed that they were able to cut, And I mean, he worked out a way to film it where as soon as they, lock swords, like all the power drains out of the room and everything goes black and white, and they're basically just fighting in front of like light machines, because he knew he could do that in a studio somewhere without the set. So he managed to piece together the ending without the big fight scene that had been planned, because they basically said, we're out of money, you have to stop like now, this is the last shot you get. And he just fought for that last shot that he got, which allowed him to get into some reshoots and actually finish the film. So there's a lot of remarkable stories about that film. And like I said, before 2014, there were no issues with it. And I'm not going to talk about that, but you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I love the film. It's got energy, it's got spirit. Everyone there was excited to be there. Everyone loved it when they were making it, pretty much. Some of the designers and people behind the scenes had some attitude, which kind of hurt the film a little bit. But overall, I love it. Don't know why people hate it. Doesn't deserve the disrespect it gets. A lot of people, though, they just want to talk and do reviews and stuff, and it's just easy to attack people and attack shows, attack artists, because it's so much easier to destroy and pull stuff down than it is to build stuff or create stuff or support stuff, and that's just part of it. Like Star Trek The Motion Picture, also one of the best science fiction films ever made, the best Star Trek film. It gets a lot of crap because a lot of people don't get it, and they expect it to be the original series, and it wasn't, and they're just caught up in their expectations of what they think it should be, not actually looking at what it is. And this film has that sort of same syndrome. Not that it doesn't have a few flaws, but overall, the main complaint, they don't spend time on Eternia. We spend a good 40 minutes on Eternia, mostly in Castle Grayskull. And like I said, what do you want? Do you want to see He-Man running around in in the desert or the forest? When I found it more interesting to see him interacting with an Earth environment and bring it to Earth. And the idea that He-Man could come into our world as a kid was really exciting to me. So, and the worlds were, connected thanks to his mother coming from Earth anyway. So it wasn't that much of a stretch. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. I wasn't planning to talk this long, but I love the film. It's very easy to talk about. And there's so much behind the scenes drama and that could do a whole another 10 minutes. But I'm going to stop. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Did I say that already? I don't know. I have a headache. I'm going to go. Bye.